Dick Blick. And I'll show you what we're going to do. Thank you, Barbara, for the stars. Very sweet. So we're just going to use a couple of colors. We're going to use white. We're going to use hot pink. And we're going to use some gold. We're going to intermix a couple of those together. Thank you. It feels really good and healthy. It was, I mean, it had a lot of straggly, nasty stuff going on. So it does feel better. But now my little clip-in hair extensions probably won't work for me, but that's okay too. Thank you, Jenny, for the stars. You guys have activated a stars party. Thank you very much. Hello. So what we're going to do is work on this 8x8 canvas, and I'll leave this on my table so that you can see what we're doing as we are doing it. Hey, everybody. And I actually sketched out while I was just kind of sitting around waiting for time to go live. I just kind of sketched out this whole page of hearts. I know it's hard to see. Hang on. I sketched out a whole page of cute little hearts that we could add to our piece. Thank you for the stars, Stephanie, Lisa, Charlotte. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Kim. So we are going to do something really cute. Thank you, Rosetta. We're going to do something really cute. We're going to add some pink. We're going to add some white. Then we're going to add some pink to our white and some white to our pink. And then we're going to add some gold to our pink and some gold to our white. And then we're going to make a pretty gold heart and use our gold glass to make it fancy. So thank you for the stars, Tammy. Thank you, Elaine. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so thank you, Janie. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera down because it's like popping up text messages anyway, so I'm not even able to look at that. So I'm going to flip upside down, and so you can see exactly what's going on the table. So let's get that done and get ourselves adjusted. Thank you, Robbie, for the stars. Thank you, thank you. 70 here tomorrow and Friday. Holy moly, I'm so ready for 70. Thank you, Cloma. I am so over winter, and I know it really kind of just started, especially here in the South, but it's just not, I just don't like it. Hey, Donna Payne, how are you, love? Okay, so I'm going to fix this so that you can see, thank you, Anne, so that you can see what size canvas we're using. Can we see the art behind you? There is no art behind me. Oh, you're talking about this flower piece? I'll show it to you when, this, I guess you're talking about this. Is that what you're talking about? Thank you for the stars, Karen. This flower piece. Does it make you feel like spring is here? Me too. I love it. Love it. That's the only piece of art behind me. So I assume that is what you're talking about. Thank you for the stars, ladies. So, oh, Sandra, don't threaten me with a good time. Thank you, Jenny. So we're working on an 8x8 canvas, and we're really literally going to use just 3 colors, pink, gold, and white. And we may throw a little black in. We may just use our pen for the black, though. So, oh no, getting hammered with snow. No. Thank you, Sue. So yeah, they're talking ice storm, but I'm not even studying it because I know the weather here well enough to know that that probably isn't going to happen. So here are the cute little, let me move this. Here are the cute little hearts I sketched out while I was just kind of sitting around waiting for time to get on. So if you are a member of the Shattered Circle, I will scan this and put this in the guides for tomorrow. So thank you for the stars, Amy. We have 50 seconds left. Thank you, Angela. So I am going to, let me scooch this up. I'm trying to get my thing where you can see everything and you can see what size canvas we're working on. I am in Mississippi. I'm in North Mississippi, almost into Tennessee. When people ask me where I live, I always say Memphis. Thank you, Fran. Thanks for the stars, ladies. Thank you, Lisa. I always say Memphis because nobody knows where South Haven, Mississippi is. So I always just say I live in Memphis. Thank you, Lisa, for putting me over the edge. Because I live I love the star explosion. You could literally toss a coin into, across the state line into Memphis from where I live. So I live in a little town called South Haven, and my studio is in Hernando, Mississippi on the square. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You rock, Lisa. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get this situated so you can see it. And I'm going to go ahead and put some color on my canvas. And I think we're going to do white and then a bigger pink. Then we're going to intermix the two, throw in some gold, and just see how it goes. Shovel. Thank you, Pat, for the stars. No shoveling snow. If it snows here, I'm just going to stay in my house. I'm not going to be shoveling any snow. Not happening. Colleen lived in Millington. So this color is called Hot Pink. I hope it is pink enough for us. So I am going to put some pink. Ugh. Hang on. I'm going to get some pink on my palette. Then we're just going to, let me grab a brush. Oh no, all my brushes are icky. Hang on. Thank you, Janie, for being my cheerleader. So I'm going to grab a bigger brush so I can really go left to right and cover a lot of ground. You went to Ole Miss? Go Denise. Yoo-hoo. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just wet my brush. Yes, Lisa, I wish it was too. So I am going to start with my whites, and I'm going to cover like just the top third of my canvas. Anne grew up in Brandon. Sharon lived in Brighton. Look at y'all. Exactly, Rebecca. We do not shovel snow in the South because we know it's not going to hang around very long. And we don't go anywhere either. Just so you know, all you people who live in snowy climates, when it snows in the South, we don't go. If 2 flurries and the schools close, you don't go anywhere. We don't get on the streets. We don't know how to drive. Denise lives in Brentwood. Awesome. We don't know how to drive in the snow, so don't yell at us. We just don't do it. So I'm coming about, I don't know, a little more than a third of the way down. Hey, Deb. Dana was skiing in it today. I'm actually going to put a little bit down here on this end too, so that my pink is not quite so grabby. I'm not going to try to cover the whole thing, but just a smidge so that our pink doesn't grab on too tight. Okay, so this is a good pink. So we're just going to cover really nicely. Love this pink color. Thank you, Desiree. Amy said if it rains in Tampa, people can't drive. I get it. I mean, we just can't drive in the snow. We're not used to it. You can't be mad at us. You know, it snows once every 6 years here, and we just don't know how to do it because we've never had to, really. So I'm going to turn this upside down so I can see my pink line. So I make it at least as straight as I can. So I'm going to just make myself, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be somewhat straight. So now we have a pink section and a white section. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit more pink. I don't want it to be perfect, but what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to grab my palette knife. Hang on. Trying to get a little bit of a small one. so we don't overdo it. So I'm gonna use this little palette knife. It's just kind of a little baby palette knife. It's got a little paint on it. Let me get that off. You spit on it. It's got a little green on it. We want green in there. So let me put some gold on our plate. And this is one instance where I don't really want my colors to be wet. I might actually add just a smidge of white in to the pink just to give it some dimension. But I don't want it to be blendy. So I probably should just use my palette knife. Let's just do that. So I'm just gonna use this baby palette knife, and it's got a bend in it, so I'm gonna have to grab another one. Hang on. Hang on, baby palette knives. Okay, so that one's good. Nice and clean. So I am going to just grab a little bit of white on the back of my palette knife. See how it's just barely there? And I am going to get that bug out. And I'm gonna just kind of slide some of that white. I think I'll go this way. Just slide a little bit of that white into my pink. Just trying to create some interest. So let's do a little bit of white. I'm gonna come this way too. Just little speckles of white. And I'll show you this close up in one sec as soon as I get it kind of how I want it. And I'm not putting a lot of paint on that palette knife. I'm literally just dipping it into a little bit of paint and then pouncing it to kind of get it mostly off. Okay, you see that? There's hardly any paint there. So I'm just gonna tickle right across the top and just pop a little bit of that color onto my canvas. So here is kind of what, here's kind of what that pink edge looks like so far. All right, so now I'm gonna take the tiniest bit of pink on my palette knife. Not much at all. I'm actually blending it in with the white as well. So you see that it's got a little bit of pink and a little bit of white. And I'm actually gonna come along the top and maybe the edges and just throw in, hang on. I wanna throw in a little bit. I had to cover up a big nasty spot with my white. We're just gonna rub in a little bit of that color, pink. And I'm not digging how that's turning out. I'm gonna actually cover a little bit of that up. So I told you this is always an experiment. I'm never like 100% prepared for what I'm gonna do because normally I just start doing it and whatever happens, happens. So let me get a little white on here. I think what will be better, let me do something real quick because I want this to look like it looks in my head. So I am going to take a little bit of this white and wet this a little with my white paint. Just at the top where my pink is. And then I'm gonna go in and do it that way, kind of wet on wet. So there we go. Because I was working on dry paint, it was turning out a little spotty. And I didn't really want spots. I wanted just little drags like that of color. There we go. See how if you barely touch your canvas, you leave those little drag lines? So there's no right or wrong though. It's just what you like and what you want on your canvas. So you do you, boo. So I'm just getting a little bit of white. All right, so I'm fairly happy with that. So now we're gonna add in a little bit of gold. So I got a little bit of gold on my palette right here. I know this is a really dirty palette, but I like to use them until they are disgusting. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that gold on my palette knife, and I'm gonna throw in a little gold here and there too. Just a teeny bit on the back of your knife. So dip it in and then kind of pounce into it. So it kind of looks like that. And we're just gonna kind of drag in. Really, I'm barely touching my canvas, guys. We're just gonna drag in some of that gold wherever your heart tells you to put it. So my heart's saying right here. So we're just gonna pull in a little bit of that gold. Now we cannot leave the bottom behind. Actually, I'm gonna put in a little more gold right on the line. There we go. Just right on that line. All right, so now we need to add a little bit of gold to the, gold to the bottom. And so we'll do the same thing, just pat, 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 pat. Got a little bit of gold, and we're just gonna drag it into our pink wherever our little heart's desire. So we'll go right here. What you don't want, guys, is to make a bunch of like horizontal lines. You want it to look organic. So you don't want to do a line and a line and a line and a line. You want to have an organic look. So don't come all the way over and don't make straight lines. So just come across. Then you might want to pull that upwards some. You don't want to go all the way across. Just make it look organic, like it was accidents. No perfect lines. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that too. I think I'm gonna show you this guy close up. So this is what we're working with. That's our below, and that's our above. So we have pink and white with a little bit of gold, and pink and white with a little bit of gold on our canvas. Okay, should have got rose gold for our canvas, but I'm gonna stick with my original thought, and we're gonna stick with the colors we have. So I'm gonna hit this for 2 quick seconds with my heat gun and dry my paint so that we can move to the next step. So time for a chitty chat. Thank you, Elaine. I love this heat gun. They look good together, don't they? They really look good together. I've been in a pink phase. I don't know if y'all noticed that lately. And I'm not a pink kind of girl, but I've definitely been in a bit of a pink phase. All right, I got one little spot that's still wet. Let me get that dry. All right, I think we're good. Exactly, Mary, me too. I always wish I was at the beach. So there's nothing new there. It's always in my head. Okay, so now I think what we're going to do is we're gonna put a heart on here. We're gonna make it like where it's half in the pink and half in the white. So I wanna do my biggest one, and they're all a little crazy. Some are lopsided, some are thicker, some are pointy, some are round, some are like doubled up. Also put the word love on here. So if you're in the shattered circle, this will be in the, guide. So I think I'm going to use the biggest one, which is one of these. So I think I'm just going to go with this one. So I'm going to grab, what's my tip? Pink Ocean. Oh, tell you about my trip. Yes, I'll actually tell you guys about my trip tomorrow. I'm going to go live in the Shattered Circle tomorrow because I have something to tell y'all that y'all are going to trip out about, and I'll tell you all about my trip too. So let me grab my stylus. I'm just going to really loosely sketch on my heart. I'm not going to try to make it perfect. It's really hard to draw a perfect heart anyway, which is why I lean towards janky ones, for lack of a better word. Always end up with lopsided, uneven. I even put a little broken heart on here. Always end up with imperfect hearts because, you know, it's super hard to make a perfect heart. So yeah, I like them lopsided too. So we have our cute little heart, and I think what we're going to do is just paint in, we'll add some more gold, and it is a broken heart on the paper. Just one cute little broken heart right here. Isn't that sweet? I hope nobody here has a broken heart though. So I'm going to put a little bit more gold on, and we're going to go ahead and paint this little cutie. Whoops, slinging stuff everywhere. Look, I resin two of my paintbrushes together. They're stuck. I'll have to prime. So I'm just going to paint inside my heart with my gold. All right, so, and I'm not even going to try it. I might add a little white and a little pink to it as well, because there's something in here. It's bugging me. A little piece of something. Hang on. Because we are going to use glass, and I'm sure the glass is going to cover up. I have to hold my mouth right. The glass is going to cover up whatever we do to the heart. But I always like to do something fun anyway, just in case somebody watching doesn't want to use glass, so they still have a really pretty heart. They still have a really pretty something, something. Yeah, I'm broken-hearted about Phil, too. I'm ready for spring, y'all. I am not about winter life. Let's see. Gotta hold my mouth right. I'm actually gonna outline this with some black too. I may put, I don't know yet. Not gonna get ahead of myself. It got blurry? I don't know, it could be the weather. The weather crazy here. Messing with the streaming. So this is gonna need more than one coat. So hang on with us. Right down that edge. All right, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up a little bit of pink on my brush. Not even gonna clean that gold out. Just gonna pick up a little bit of pink and bring it right in to my little heart. It was still wet, so it kind of messed it up a little bit, but we're gonna work with it anyway. Catherine, she is struggling. She has long haul COVID, and her hair is falling out, and she has had thrush like 3 times, and she is just on the struggle bus. She is really struggling. There's really not much that can be done at this point, but it is metallic gold. I'm gonna really need to dry that. Let me grab my heat gun again. We'll get that dry so I don't have to fight it. No point fighting it when the heat gun is an inch away. And we're going to be using metallic gold, so it's not that big of a deal, but I just do like for it to be pretty anyway. Yeah, I'm ready for it not to be dark at 5:30 as well. Yeah, she is really struggling. You know, she's super depressed. And, you know, she doesn't live here, so I can't, like, hug up on her. All right, let's see. That is nice and dry, but now I need to give it a second to cool off, because that's pretty hot. Hotter and hot. So, let's see. I think I'm going cool off. Let me get a sip while we're cooling off. Thank you guys so much. She's so sweet, and she is really struggling. You know, she just could not shake the symptoms. She was, you know, she wasn't really having trouble breathing, but fever, constant. I mean, and it would go up to like 106, and her blood pressure would go up, and then she got thrush, and she couldn't eat or drink anything. So she was really struggling. Okay, so I think this is cool enough now. Yeah, Louise, I'm happy for that. I'm glad his symptoms are... This new variant seems to be pretty mild. So that is good. Well, this is turning out really nice. I actually like the gold with the pink kind of peeking through, even though it won't matter in 5 minutes. Just needed a more solid color. Thank you for the prayers, guys. She'll appreciate that. All right. I'm going to leave that little smidge of pink there just because I like it. And you'll look and you can see close up that it is not perfect. There's not 100% coverage here, but I'm not stressing about that too much because I am going to add some glass to that. So if you're not going to add glass, I would suggest maybe another coat and make sure it's nice and pretty. And then maybe add a little more pink. I'm going to do, watch this, I'm going to do one little whoop of white, just because I can, even though it's going to be covered up. So yeah, I use acrylic paints, and I'm using a white, a dark pink, and a metallic gold on my little piece here. So, yeah, I had COVID again at Christmas too, and I am just over all that malarkey. Over it, I tell ya. Okay, so I want this to dry before I get started pouring resin. So I think what we'll do is manage our time the correct way. And, well, I was going to say let's mix resin, but I actually think I want to add some details with my black pen to our piece. So I think I'm just going to separate my lines with my black. And, you know, I like to just do short lines and not a lot of, 106 is way high. Not a lot of, I don't want just a full solid line. I want it to be kind of skippy. So we'll do around our heart too. And I'm going to do around the outside of my heart because the inside will be covered with glass. So there's kind of what I did with that. And I guess that's all. I guess that's all we need. I don't know where else I'd put it, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just mix up some resin while we're waiting on that gold to dry. So I have 2 little baby cups, and I am only going to mix a 1/2 ounce of resin. Okay, it would be great with foils. Yes, 100%. Beautiful. Okay, imagine the pink. Yeah, ... Imagine the pink, and maybe I need to do a ... right here. Hang on. ... There we go. Imagine the pink and white with an animal print heart. That would be super cool. Let me grab some gloves. And hang on. I got new resin today. So I am going to open this real quick. Forgot to do it. I like to pour from the smaller bottles, and I hadn't had smaller bottles in a hot minute. So I got some in today. This is what I'm using. Is art resin. It's a 2-part resin, hardener and resin that you mix together 50-50, okay? It's a 50-50 mix. So I'm going to put my gloves on. I do too, Becky. I love the ... And I am going to pour a 1/4 ounce. Thank you, Catherine. I'm going to pour a 1/4 ounce of resin in 1 cup and a 1/4 ounce of resin in the other. So that's barely any. So let me mark my cup, a 1/4 ounce. We'll mark this one, a 1/4 ounce, because it's hard to see those lines. And we'll start with the hardener. So we're going to do Remus sells Pink Leopard. Yes, she does. I actually think I have some of Remus Pink Leopard. Y'all are going to make me do another Valentine's, aren't you? So when you get your resin and it comes with these, toss those, okay? Take them out. Hang on. Take them out. Thank you for the stars. Take these red caps out. Hang on. Goodness gracious. I've never seen it on sale either. Oh, so take that top out and throw it in the trash. Don't try to put it back in your piece or in your bottle. Okay, so I am going to pour really slowly because a 1/4 ounce is not very much and it will get there fast. All right, so that is a 1/4 ounce. Just barely any. I buy mine from artresin.com. Can I show you the marks on the little cup? Yeah. I don't know if you can even see it, but let me put something white in there. Let me put my napkin. So there's what the cup looks like. And it has measurements on the cup, but they're embossed, so it's hard to see. So I just make a little black line at the mark where I am measuring so that I can see it while I'm pouring. So we need, that is our hardener. So now we need resin. So I'm going to get the red thing out of here. I did have a great girls trip. Thank you. It was so much fun. Ooh. Hang on. Oh, right on my boobage. Popped off. Okay, so now I'm going to mix some resin. And I got to slow my roll because I almost went over. One little drop. Okay. Stop, 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 stop. Oh, Laura, I have cats at home too. And when I was doing my stuff for the, sorry, I'm trying to find my cup. When I was doing, actually I'll just measure and mix in these. When I was doing my resin at home, I struggled with that as well, keeping cat hairs out of my art pieces, but you just have to monitor it a lot until it gets hardened up enough that you can walk away. So, pour one into the other since we have plenty of space left in the cup to have room to mix. We're going to mix them in 1 cup. Get all that deliciousness out of there, though. All right. And I know I haven't added my glass yet, but that's okay. I am going to just stir this for 3 minutes, really gently. Make sure you do it gently and don't beat it to death, and incorporate a ton of bubbles into your resin, because it's really easy to make a really big mess, especially in the winter when your resin doesn't like to be cold anyway. So Maryland's, oh, Joann's doesn't carry it. I see a pepper flake in my resin already. Oh my goodness. So we're going to stir this for 3 minutes. Scrape the sides, scrape the bottom of your little piece. Yes, Patty, I have. You normally need to glue that down before you resin. So, because Frit is so tiny that it wants to float around in your resin. So, yes, that's an excellent idea, Donna. And anybody, if you have animals or kids running around, you definitely should cover your pieces. Bonnie, Frit is tiny, itsy bitsy, almost sand-like bits of glass. It's almost like glitter, like it's that small. They call that Frit. So, stir, stir, stir. Don't forget to let your friends know what we're doing here. We're about to apply our glass and then put our resin on top. Okay, so I was going to tell this I was going to go live inside the Shattered Circle and tell this horrific story, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell it here because I think it deserves the recognition it gets. So, inside, hang on, if your resin dried, sticky, yes. Mix up more and add it on top, Carol. If it's still sticky, do another layer. So, I did my art piece for our February Shattered Circle project. And I finished it, well, I finished it last week, but I didn't resin it for a few days. And it doesn't matter, Nancy, which one you do first. So I resined it the day before I was leaving to go out of town. Now, this is a fairly decent sized piece of art. It's not an 8x8, okay? It was a fairly decent sized piece of art. So I put my glass on, and I poured my resin, and then I went home for the night. The next day, I went to Florida. So, thank you, Catherine. I hear you. So, I go to Florida. I'm going to set this down and put my glass on real quick. So, I go to Florida. I'm headed to Florida. And Carla, who works for me part-time, calls me crying. Anybody want to take a wild guess why Carla was crying? Man, this has got some big pieces in it. Hang on, I'm going to manage this in just a second. So Carla came into the studio on Wednesday, because I left Wednesday. Carla came into the studio, and lo and behold, my piece of art was laying on my table, and I don't even want to say this out loud. There was a mouse in the art. The art, okay, you know resin. Resin dries like a rock after so long, right? That's why you can add glass to it and do all these wonderful things. The resin was cured because it had been a long time. It had been, 12, 14 hours. And I know, exactly. I cried my eyes out. The mouse was still alive. I know this is a horrible story, but the mouse was still alive. And he was stuck in my resin, his entire body laying flat. It was like he was struggling. He had struggled to get out and then fell over. And he was resined hard to my art piece. Carla called me bawling, did not know what to do. So, you know, it was like, who cares about the art piece? Even though I just finished it. Thank goodness I videoed that thing. But I told her, I said, who cares about the art piece? I'm sick about the poor mouse who's been laying in the art all night, wondering what he did wrong. And so she was crying, saying, what do I do? What do I do? So she called her husband, and her husband came. I'm just kind of placing these where I want them. Her husband came, confiscated the art piece with the mouse attached, and we asked no more questions. He came and got it and did whatever he needed to do to put that poor thing out of its misery. We don't know exactly what that was. We do not want to know, but it was the most horrible thing ever. And so now we have set some of those mouse traps that are like, that just catches them. It doesn't kill them. And hopefully, well, the day that this happened, it was like 20 degrees here. So, you know, that's why the poor little fella came in looking for a warm place, and look what happened to him. Bless his heart. I was devastated. So I lost a brand new big piece of art, and the little mouse, he lost his life. It was so sad. It was horrible, right? Terrible. So, poor little fella and poor art piece directly in the trash. So, let me trying to find just the right piece for down here. And I think we're good. So, I know, it's terrible. You should have seen it. That baby was cold, and he just came at the wrong place, to the wrong place at the wrong time. It was the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It was terrible. I know. I'm sad. She wanted me to send her, she wanted to send me a picture of it. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to pass. I do not need to see. But poor Carla was mortified. That's awesome, Tracy. But this was not going to happen that way. You know how resin is. And it was hardened. And it was dry. And it was not going to happen in a good way. So we are trying to ensure now. We actually bought some little under the bed storage containers to put over art pieces when we're done, until winter passes by, so that never happens again. We also put out some of those traps that don't kill them. So, yeah. So that is my horror story of the week. I hope I never have to tell you that story again. Oh yeah. So I've covered my glass with the resin, and now I'm going to just dump the rest on my canvas to kind of fill out the rest of my art piece. So I'm not doing the word on here. I just sketched that onto my tracer so that anybody in the group wants to have a word on there, you know, they'll have that. So I was actually literally just sketching and dilly-dallying till it was time to go live. So it was just a bonus thing. So I'm going to now just move my resin around and cover the rest of my art piece. So guys, if you're in the Shattered Circle and you saw the art piece that we did and you wonder why there's not a really great picture of it hanging on the wall like we normally do, we normally hang it on the wall or lean in against something pretty and show how nice it looks, you know, after it's finished. And there won't be one of those because of that. So if you're wondering what happened, that is it. So, yeah, not at all, Tracy. Not at all. It made us all very sad, but we are making we're taking great precaution to make sure that never happens again to any little mouse or other creature. So now I've spread out my resin over my canvas. So a 1/2 ounce of resin is the perfect amount of resin for this 8x8 canvas. It covered my glass really nicely and covered the rest of the canvas. If you use a brush, Debbie, the brush becomes trash. So I would suggest using using your hands, or you could use one of these that is now also stuck in my resin. I've got to pry that out. It's a silicone spreader, but I just use my hands for the most part. So if you are, somebody just asked, how do you keep the resin from pulling from the edges? You want to make sure, Cindy, that your canvas is tight, okay? If your canvas bows down in the center, all your resin is going to flow to the middle and pull away from your edges. So if you look at your canvas and it has some give, then you're going to want to spray it with water. Don't like saturate it. You want to spray it with water on the inside and the outside. Let that dry, and it should tighten up your piece. Okay, let's see. Every piece I have, resin has pitted or made puddles of nothingness. Sheila, try using a little more resin than you're using in your art piece, because that may be the problem, is you're not using quite enough resin. But let me tell you, and I would show you if the mouse hadn't killed my piece. I'm just hitting this with a heat gun to pop any air bubbles, because I intentionally left some skippies in the last piece I did that the mouse took over. I left intentional skippies in that art piece so that you could see what it looks like, because I don't mind that. I don't mind having, yes, I do need blocks. I don't mind having skippies as long as they're not like a huge piece. Like if it's a huge round circle. But I can tell you right now, I have a skippy right here. And it just looks like if you stuck your finger in, it would make like a fingerprint. And that doesn't bother me in the slightest. You know, this is handmade art, and don't expect it ever to be perfect. So this is what we ended up with. Is this not spectacular? I love this. Isn't this cute?